through the whole thing. So if you've got questions or wonderings, or if you want to challenge them with what they learned about something, or want to have them get into great detail and emotion, please ask them. Just raise your hand. And they said they don't know the answer, they'll give it to me. So I'll give you my interpretation of how Jeremiah felt about something. We did spend a lot of time together. I'm pretty in tune with how he feels about things now. So that's part of the joys of those kinds of trips and things like that. So I'm going to pray. I'll give a little context, and then I'll hand Jeremiah the mic, and we'll get going on the slides. So will you pray with me? Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for this time to share about how we got to serve over spring break. Just be with us as we share these experiences and encourage others in serving you in our comings and goings. In Jesus' name, amen. So when we set up the mission trip, it looks a little different every year. Form and fashion, location changes. We've been in Detroit for many years and loving our work in Detroit. We did start our trip off in Detroit, just a little spoiler. But different places to serve in different pockets, So I've been down to Houston, Texas with Global Missions and Dr. David Kim, helping out in his mission center down there. We've been out into Colorado. We've been to Detroit. And now this year we did a moving and going. So we kind of expounded on the Great Commission. Go and make disciples. And the concept is in your comings, in your goings. And so we wanted to make it a trip that was kind of less vacation-y, less scripted, and more just kind of focusing on the comings and goings as you travel and engage in that life. I had this great vision, this great plan, and then my family got sick. So my vision and plan became an empowerment of discipleship and saying, go, do it. You feel the Spirit move. And so I gave Jeremiah my credit card and the church keys and a bunch of cash in a way that going, you're in the deep end now, buddy. Go for it. And I'll see you when I see you. And that was basically it. And I gave him like Twizzlers and Red Vines and junk food for the van ride down too. And I showed up on Saturday morning and not knowing when I was going to rejoin the team, depending on when my family got healthy and well. And so long story short, I joined them on Tuesday night. I flew into Detroit on Tuesday night, and they graciously picked me up at the airport. And they gave me back the cash and the credit card and the van key. And they said, thank you, but no thank you. It's all yours now. So these guys got sent. They had a unique experience in the sending. I think that's awesome about adventures and service trips and mission trips and all whatever words you want to use around it. Adventure happens when something goes unscripted. We all love adventures, but we don't like living an unscripted life too often, right? Jesus calls us into a journey and a path and an adventure, but we want to know all the whys and what ifs and schedules and time points of everything. And so we started off with an adventure. He got a phone call at 8 o'clock Saturday morning after I talked and texted with Aaron before that, and I said, let's do it, Some of the cool motivations was, it was very tempting to almost, should we just cancel the trip? There's only 3 people. Like, it's not going according to plan. It wasn't necessarily how we wanted. It wasn't as robust as something could be. But we did it, and I'm glad we did it because it was transformational for the 4 of us. And hopefully, with you guys here too, it's a story that keeps going. Otherwise, there would be no story going anymore. It would have been easier to cancel it for lots of different reasons. And I'm glad that we didn't cancel it and we moved into it too. So Jeremiah's going to talk about the days I wasn't there. I was home taking care of family. So I'm going to pass it on to you and you get into it. So, ready? Yeah. All right.
What he does not tell you is the fact that I kept the other van key in case he locked me out. But yeah, like Marcus said, I do have quite a few slides of pictures of what we did. I'll talk a little bit about each one. There's quite a few slides, so I'll just briefly touch on each one. If either Marcus or Raylan wants to touch on what they learned from those specific experiences as well, they can. But we will get right into it. So, day 1, travel to Detroit. There wasn't much to do there on the drive, just stopping along the way, picking up snacks, bathroom breaks. Didn't do a whole lot. You can see there's Grant in the front seat, and I'm driving. Yeah, there was a lot of sleeping done on that drive. There was no snow down there. It was beautiful. We had mid-50s, low 60s all week.
River, let's skip ahead a bit. When we got to Kentucky area, Marcus goes, guys, it's 74 degrees. The first words that came out of my mouth were, ew. I'm very much love the snow, so when I realized there was no snow and it was 74 degrees, I thought it was gross.
It was very enjoyable. I took great enjoyment in rubbing it in my family's face that I was enjoying the warm weather. Day 2, that was Sunday morning. We went to church with Maggie's family. They graciously opened their doors to us Saturday night to stay with them because Marcus wasn't there. He was back here at home base taking care of his family and making sure they're doing okay. And he just kind of pulled strings and helped put things into place from up here, which was very nice of him to do for us, and very nice of Maggie's family to let us stay with them. Our next thing on the agenda was to meet with Camper Store and touch base with them Sunday afternoon after we ate lunch, just figuring out like where we were going to stay Sunday night, if we were going to stay at the Camper Store building, or if they were going to find us a house, which was originally the plan. They were going to find us a house to stay in, but that kind of fell through, and we ended up getting an Airbnb in Detroit, and it was quite nice. Yeah, yeah. There were a few people singing and chanting on the roof that night,
Yeah, I
which was
woke up at 3 a.m., my usual, because of work. It's just my body alarm, and I had woken up to singing and chanting on the roof just outside my window. And I was like, this is interesting. And I just kind of just went with it and just colored my Bob Ross coloring book and called it a day.
All right. Our third thing on the agenda was the Red Wings game. We got tickets to go to the Red Wings versus Anaheim Ducks game. It was quite an experience for all of us because it was quite a bit bigger than the Michigan Tech hockey games. Quite a bit bigger. This was us at lunch. We went to Buffalo Wild Wings. The picture didn't make it in, but Marcus sent us a very similar picture of his family around the table from a selfie perspective. It was quite humorous. This was one of the views in Detroit as we were driving around. That was the GM headquarters building. And here is us getting a tour of Camper Store. This was on the 3rd floor. It is based out of a church building there. They do a lot of community meetings and whatnot there, and we were able to thankfully get a tour of the entire building and what they do. This was one of the murals in the building. I don't know the name of the artist. It was kind of cool, just representing Jesus and his lamb. Here's another picture of us getting a tour. I don't know if was that you, Raylan?
Touching the wall?
Yes.
Yeah, that's me.
Okay. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm actually the one that's
The lady that gave us the tour was the director of Camper Store. She didn't make it into the picture for some reason, but that is her son there. I don't remember his name. Do you remember his name, Marcus?
No, it just slipped my mind.
Okay.
Was it Tanya?
Yes, that was Tanya.
Yes.
Harvey, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I was like, it was there, and then it just left my mind as soon as you asked me for it.
There is the brick that we signed from the missions trip in 2023, back when we sent a team down to help Camper Store. There was quite a few names that I recognized on there, and a few.
I would just like to point out, the first thing Jeremiah sees, though, he goes, who's MH? I'm like, Marcus Huff? And he's like, oh, that makes sense. And I was like, uh-huh.
Yeah, I was running on fumes, and it was a bit of a oops moment for me. This was us visiting the Red Wings store at the stadium. Everything was very red. There is I believe that was the second floor of the stadium, just looking down the hallway. Down at the end there, it kind of looks like a road, but it's not. Those are just big windows, and it's just, and many escalators. It's huge. This was as we first came in the doors to the stadium on the first floor. There was quite a few vendors, and it just shocked me how big the stadium was compared to our SDC. This was the view from our seats. We were up kind of above like the second strip screen there. We were up really high, right up on the glass, so it was a little nerve-wracking at first. During the spot between the periods, they were playing Zorb hockey, which they put on these big bubble suits and they just run at each other and just launch each other across the arena. It was pretty amusing to watch. Here's us as we were leaving the stadium. We got to see or drive past Motor City, where all of the like big monster truck races and stuff happen. That was pretty cool. All right, and day 3, hitting the ground with Camp Restore. We met with them in the morning and had our breakfast with them right there at home base, and we chatted for a little while about what we were doing or what we were going to be doing that day. They had us go help a place called DHDC. It is a donation center that works primarily with the Hispanic community down there. A lot of it you think would be just like the classic Detroit people. No, a lot of the southeast neighborhoods of Detroit are actually Hispanic, people from South America that are coming up to work. They're on work visas, they're here just with family. And that was primarily the neighborhood that was affected by the water main that blew out a week before we came. It was a pretty bad disaster. The water main broke and brought the water level up to about the window level on cars, and then it froze. And there was quite a bit of devastation and a lot of people affected. A majority of the neighborhood was evacuated. Due to that, they were being housed in neighborhoods further away, or a lot of the hotels were opening their doors for these people. And it was quite surreal to be down on the ground there. So, a little bit about DHDC. It's run completely by volunteers. They have donation centers that opened up after the disaster that are just scattered across Detroit. A lot of people from the neighborhoods and communities, they would come in and they'd donate clothes, all kinds of hygiene supplies, shoes, you name it, they'd donate it. The center we helped with was actually pretty big. There'll be a couple pictures there showing you just how big it was. I already touched on that point. So these donation centers, we put together care packages. So they sent out a survey and with like a phone number to call, and they'd call, and the person that would answer the phone, they would ask, okay, what are your needs? Like what things do you need? And these people, they could tell them, like, we need clothes, we need cleaning supplies, basic needs like that. And so what we would do is we'd get a list. When we'd walk in the morning, we'd get a little note card with a name, a phone number, address, and the list of needs for each person. And then it was a little bit out of our comfort zone in the morning because we showed up not knowing what we were going to do. And the guy running the donation center, looked at us and was like, all right, you got to call these people. And asked us, are you bilingual? Because a lot of these people speak Spanish. And Raylan and Grant knew a little bit of Spanish. I'm lost when it comes to Spanish. So that was a little bit of a struggle for me. Thankfully, he wrote on the note cards, this person speaks English, or this person speaks Spanish. So we were able to kind of work with that a little bit. And we'd call and ask, well, what size clothes do you need? What size shoes? If they requested pet food, what pets do you have so we can help better fulfill those needs? And then we'd pack them into boxes. We'd fill out these orders, put everything in a box. We'd load it up in the van, and then drive it out into these neighborhoods and deliver them to the addresses that the people provided. So what are care packages? What do these care packages look like that we are delivering? So in these boxes, it could consist of any of these items: hygiene supplies, clothes and shoes, food and water. Usually we didn't give out just like a water bottle. It was a big case of 25 to 30 water bottles. Pet foods, common ones were dog food and cat food. Cleaning supplies, brooms, bleach, soaps, scrub brushes, you name it. And then baby and toddler items. Baby food, a lot of the baby formulas. We could do diapers, wipes, clothing, anything that they needed. So this was this was the area with like the diapers and a lot of the wipes, hygiene supplies, everything like that. This was the gym portion of the church that we worked in. That was where a lot of the supplies were being staged. This was the clothing. This was on day 9 of them being open. We were there days 8 and 9. Thank you. They had been open 7 days prior to us being there. And this was everything that had been donated in that time, which was incredible.
While we were still there was still more coming in for donations. Like, if you see those doors in the back above the exit sign back there's tons of bags back there of stuff. Plus, in front of this table, there was tons of clothes there. Like, they had an abundant amount. Like, there was just more and more people coming in, even just dropping stuff off, taking care packages, dropping those off, and then everybody was just coming in and out with everything you could possibly imagine just to help out these people in need.
Yeah, it was really cool to see the amount of donations that were flooding in, even in the 2 days that we were there to help. Just the amount of care and the community coming together, just donating everything, and even just coming in for a couple hours to help fill out these orders, and then they just load up their van and they'd go. It was quite the sight to see. This was our food area. There was a couple more tables off to the right of the picture that were just filled with all kinds of non-perishable foods. There was canned foods, boxed foods, rice, you name it, it was there. There was even a couple snacks, which were tempting, but.
Just a little.
These are what our care packages looked like. Nothing really fancy, just cardboard boxes that we filled with items. You can see another one down there, the box with the 3X on it. That was actually a pretty common one, a jacket or a coat, that an item that we would throw in there. This is what a lot of the streets looked like. Cars lining both sides. That road is actually pavement, but it's covered in probably about a half an inch of mud. And there was big piles of trash just lining the street. There would be a good, probably 6-foot tall pile of just basement belongings, furniture, lamps, just anything that you would find in a basement was just piled 6 feet high for about a half a mile long, just lining the streets. And these big dumpster trucks would come in and just with a claw, and they'd just pick it up. And once they were full, they'd just drive away, and another one would pull up, and it was pretty awful. A lot of these cars along the streets were destroyed. they would never run because they were flooded. And it was just heartbreaking to see these homeowners. They would come in and they'd just clean out their basements into their car and just wait for it to get towed away. It was surreal and just heartbreaking. Day 4, we were doing the same thing. We went back after touching base with Camper Store. We ate breakfast with them, made baggy lunches that were amazing. And they always sent us off from Camper Store by singing, "This is the day." And then we'd say a prayer, and then we'd hit the road for DHDC. Then after that, in the evening, this was Tuesday. In the evening, we went with our point person, Damari. He was the one that kind of came along with us and just helped us along, kind of helped nudge us to where we were supposed to go. And he's super cool, came and helped us for a little bit on Tuesday as well with DHDC. He took us to Mexican Town, which it's got a couple shops that are, what's the word I'm looking for? Just like authentic Mexican. A lot of the stuff in this town was just authentic Mexican stuff, and it was super cool. He gave us a choice in the morning, because Monday night he took us to one of the Camper Store members' family's house for a home-cooked meal. That was our dinner for Monday night. And then Tuesday morning, he gave us a choice. He's like, well, we can go back to their house for a home-cooked meal tonight, or we can go to this really great Mexican place and get the best tacos you have ever had in your life. And went on this 10-minute rant or thing about how good these tacos were. And we're sitting there just like, okay, this choice has been made for us already. So, and then after we went to the restaurant, our next thing on the agenda was to pick up Marcus from the airport. He was flying in that night. More on that in a little bit. This was in Mexican Town. It was a pretty cool and very colorful mural that was on the side of one of the buildings that I thought was really cool. So on the left, that is Damari. He was the one that was hyping up the tacos. It was, the restaurant name was Taqueria Lupitas. It was quite good, very, very good. Yeah, the taco, or no, the burrito I had was literally just like about the size of a football. And then there was Damari with his 8 tacos.
He had to count them to make sure he had the 8. Like, he literally sat there for like a minute, moving every taco. Like, there were tacos about like this big, but he moved every one to make sure he had all 8 before he ate them, because he wanted his 8 tacos.
Yes, and he thoroughly enjoyed every one of them. Oops. So this was one of these shops that was in Mexican Town. It's really, really cool how colorful everything is that they made. This was a like Oriental pottery shop, which was pretty cool. And here we are picking up Marcus from the airport. It was Damari's idea to pick him up with a sign that said, "Welcome back from rehab, Marcus."
Yeah, we were going to do prison, but then Damari suggested rehab.
Yeah.
And yeah, we were driving down the road, and then we stopped. We're like, oh, we don't know if Marcus is here. And we started driving, and we seen him. I'm like, there's Marcus! Pull over the van! I whipped open the door and never sprinted out with a sign so fast and just held it there. And there were so many people just staring at me, and I was like, this is the moment.
Yeah.
This is it.
Yes, if you would like to see the video of that, you can talk to me, Marcus, or this young man right here. It's quite funny to see. Day 5, we were driving to Cincinnati. We were going to help a church with a local bridge ministry there. We were not able to do that. We weren't able to get in contact with them to see if the ministry was still going. So we ended up just exploring Cincinnati, but I'll let Marcus talk about that.
Yeah, so when I joined them on Tuesday night, it was cool that like we're getting all the details and the photos and stuff like that. But the experience that you don't have is when you're working with people, you don't take pictures of everything that's going on, and so. They didn't get in as much detail about the size of the burrito, though I could see it in the refrigerator when I got there. The leftovers were there. But it was a lot of like people stories specifically about being welcomed into people's homes. Camp Restore is one of our mission projects of our church that we support and we've been working with for many years. Amy Fant is back there. She's the director of the whole thing. And they do a great job of just working with the community and responding and working with whatever they need there. And so we never know what we're going to do. I learned to drive a bulldozer a couple of years ago in the city of Detroit, which was fantastic. It was great timing to be able to respond to this need to help serve people and deliver. We had this big church van that could be packed full of care packages. They figured out how to drive around and deliver this stuff. And the experiences they processed, even on Tuesday night, had a lot to do with, it's foreign today to knock on someone's door, right? Wouldn't you feel weird if I showed up at your house and knocked on your door? That's an unfamiliar thing to do, let alone being the person that's knocking on a door. And you're also in a community that has a huge immigration and visa population as well. And so they're driving up as white people in a van, and there's also an ICE van going around and picking up people as well, too. So it was also a culturally awkward moment for the people of the community. Not only that, but also for our group as they're experiencing what to do. Poor Jeremiah had to learn and navigate driving in an urban setting as well, which is really different than here. There's a beauty of flying to someplace really quick, but there's a beauty of going slowly and driving in and transitioning in. You know, so first off, they had to knock on the door of Maggie's parents, someone they knew, and that was okay but unfamiliar. And then 2 days later, they're knocking on someone's door that doesn't necessarily speak the same language, and they don't know who they are completely, and serving and being hands and feet in that kind of community, which is awesome. And they're having dinner and being welcomed to people's homes that they just met. And so they're being served as they're serving, which is usually how this kind of all works out, which is neat. But yeah, the experiences and stories, they can tell you more. We're down to the last 10, 15 minutes here. So we're going to cruise through some photos. We're only on Tuesday. You guys did a lot of stuff without me. Now we got to talk about, it's me time now. Now we're here, you know, so no. So Cincinnati, we're transitioning through to the Ark. It's about 5 hours from Detroit to Cincinnati, and it's just too hard to squeeze into an evening and just show up exhausted and stuff like that. So we had transition day. There's a Lutheran church in Cincinnati, and they have a warming center. They open up from 11 to 1, 11 to 2. We wanted to leave Camp Restore. They wanted to say goodbye to us in the morning, so we left Camp Restore well. We had ascending. They did the song. I saw some familiar friends. We signed a new brick. We did all those things, and took our time getting to Cincinnati. And then we walked around Cincinnati, which is a completely different urban setting than where they were in Detroit, and kind of got some time to process, what does this look like? Cincinnati, the Rhine area, it's highly developed on one side of the street and highly not on the other side of the street, for lack of a better term. There's a great street presence of not necessarily homeless people, but street people that live and depend on the resources available there. There's a literal dividing line. Like if this was the street we were walking down, this side was just completely redone, and there's a big professional soccer arena that was put in on this side. And it looked like tech kids coming out of college, and they had a nice, pretty painted house. And then this side was all street people, and they just didn't cross the street. It was this weird split. And so part of that day was just holding tension to how do we process these different areas. Do you feel comfortable walking on that side of the street or walking on this side of the street? And you didn't feel comfortable on either side of the street because we're in the city. So, I mean, that was the reality of it. It was just like, this is weird. Where do we want to go? But that was part of Cincinnati and seeing what was going on there. Getting to see a ministry that was there later on, talked to some family members that knew that church a little bit, and they're in transition of pastor and leadership change, and so no one got back, but it was a ministry that existed and kept going on as well too. So, yeah, you want to keep bumping slides? Sure. You want to keep adding to it? Or do you want me to talk through it? Both hands?
Either way.
Okay, we'll keep bumping through. Right. So here's some pictures of Cincinnati.
Great kind of area. Again, very different feel to where these guys were at in there. Tons of art, big, vibrant murals painted all over. They put a lot of money into it. This is the one side of the street. This is the side of the street that had been redone completely and a whole different feel compared to the opposite side as well. So, went for a good long walk. It was 70 degrees that day, so you might as well walk, and soak it all in. Raylan hated every minute of it, but we made her do it anyway, so. They don't have Meijer down there, but they have Kroger. That was like their version of this great Michigan store. But so we took in this giant Kroger. So, yeah. So part of it was just getting food in town, the bridges, the culture, just slowing down, kind of seeing the space a little bit too. So day 6, we stayed south of Cincinnati, and we went to the Ark. So the Ark opens up at 9 a.m. in the morning. If you ever want to feel inspired and should check it out, which you should, it's amazing. Get there early. You drive down, park in a parking lot. They shuttle around. They have giraffes everywhere. We're great at selfies, as you can see. So you get into the Ark. The Ark is life-size scale. Anyone know how large the Ark is? Really big is a good definition. Yeah. It's measured in cubits, which we learned is the distance from the tip of your middle finger to your elbow is a cubit, and then there's the royal cubit, which then you add like 3 fingers on top of it. Oh, we have a slide about that. We'll get there. But it's 540 feet long, which I can't visualize really. When we were there and seeing it, it looked like it was CGI. Even walking into it, the sky was so blue, this giant ship, it just looked fake. So you get to walk into the whole experience. Pastor Aaron preached this morning on what's in the Bible and what do we add on to it. There's not a lot that goes into the story of Noah and the ark per se. We know that it was God depicted, it was a certain size to be built, and Noah builds it. We don't get to know, look at my pose, coffee. It's massive. So all the animals kind of show up for Adam. We don't know how they show up. We don't know how many of them are. We don't know what sizes they are. All these great details that we're curious about. They have a lot of historians that did a lot of cultural history and of that time and anticipate what was going on there. They estimate about 1,400 different species were inside the ark, construction of the ark. They go into a lot of like great engineering questions of like, how do you deal with feces of 140 different species of animals inside of a boat? How do you work with air ventilation to deal with the said smell of things in the boat? All these kind of things go into it, and there's great detail of what kind of wood was used. When they built the ark, it took them 6-7 years to build. So the ark is north central Kentucky. And they estimated it took Noah about 75 years to build it, based on information that were given about when he's starting and the age of his kids and the maturity of that to be in the boat. Yeah, there's crazy statistics of how many board feet would be in it, how many cubic feet, how many semi-trailers you could fit inside there, since we don't understand how many dinosaurs would fit, mentally, so we think in semi-trailers. They have all these exhibits about how would they have working stations to maintain and uphold and build stuff. They talk a lot about the technology going backwards, potentially, because you can't bring in tradespeople with how to blacksmith and all these things, or how much they knew or didn't know, and how culturally we went back a little ways to move forward. So, yeah, this would have been the door that God would have shut, the idea where the animals would have originally come through, this giant door. So Grant makes it look a little bit smaller because he's so tall, but, I keep it proportionate, don't worry. I was there for proportion sizing, so. They did a whole exhibit on talking about the history of the flood narrative in lots of different cultures, and how the flood narrative shows up around the globe, how it's a recognized thing, and they deal with the tensions of did the Bible just steal this from another culture? Is it really true to this? So it gets into a lot of the apologetics of where does this come through? Is it true to the Bible? Where does other cultures grab this, or how they deal with this global story that is part of history? Hey, what? Yeah. So this is the Bible in Hebrew. They put a lot of definitions. So there's 3 levels you can travel through. The first level deals with the tension of the world is so evil and corrupt and messed up that God wants to wipe it all out. Okay? I don't know about you, when I was walking through it, I was thinking very Sunday school oriented. It was like, it's bad, okay. I didn't think about it much more. Kind of like, did you think about when Jesus was 12? Maybe you did, maybe you didn't. But the world was so bad that God wanted to wipe it out, his creation, right? Do you ever get to the point where you're dealing with a house repair? You're like, this house is just, I'm done with it. We're just going to wipe it all out. We don't do that. You just deal with it, or you move or something like that. God gets to that point, he just wipes it out, picks this pocket of people to make life happen again with and restores it. And that's a weird tension to deal with. And they depict what that looked like in the development of countries and the global sin that existed in space as well, too. Then next level, you have the actual flood, how you deal with flood, how you survive on a boat, what does that look like? Then they deal with the impact of how do you share the story then about what just happened, where's it going to go? So there's a lot going on. There's a lot of reading. It's really fascinating to take in. We did about 3.5 hours going through the ark itself, and that's a lot of just reading and downloading. And there's videos and depicting things in lots of different ways. But we were just mentally mush by the 3.5 hours of just absorbing this as it challenged some of the narrative of what I learned in Sunday school and what was being placed in front of me now, and how do I balance this out? Just that tension of like we experience the different cityscapes as well, too. So there's a lot of processing that way, too. So I don't know if you ever ride a carousel, but I love carousels. I guess this is what they want to point out right now. I mean, on a carousel. I went with the most Uper-oriented animal I could find. There's a really sad photo of this guy, just the back of him going up and down on the carousel. It's just like Eeyore-esque, but we rode it. So there's more than just the ark at the ark counter. It has the giant ark, which you can't miss, and it's taken in, but it also has then a giant zoo, and there's other learning centers. There's a virtual reality station. There's a free carousel, which is amazing. Lots of animals and stuff like that, and food. So it's really good. So that was a whole day. We took that in and just kind of sat with it. Had some chance to process it. As a group, it was kind of cool. They were asking great questions, and we're dealing with some of those tensions about what do we do with this information in this space compared to other spaces. And then it was time to start heading home. So about this point, we've gone from Houghton over to like Bay City, Saginaw area, down to Detroit, down to Cincinnati, down to Kentucky, and we're a long way from home, you know? It's like when you go for a biking trip one way and you forget you have to go back home afterwards. You're like, oh man, I got to get back. Oh, jeez. So on the way back, we added to it. We left northern Kentucky and we followed the Ohio River. And got to see what life looked like in this kind of rural area of Kentucky and southern Indiana, and followed through that. I have a cousin, same age as I am. He has a maple syrup factory farm that they operate 2 weekends out of the year. They get between 5,000 to 30,000 people every weekend coming into this space. And this is just something he does on the side. He's a high-end financial advisor. I was talking to him, he goes, yeah, I had over 100 flights last year about flying and working with business moguls. And he spends a month in the woods doing maple syrup and sap. And he does this, and so it was a transition in the mission trip of serving and seeing God's message. It was a transition in seeing people serve in lots of unique ways and gifts. When I grew up with him and he married his wife, he knew nothing about sap or syrup, except Miss Butterworth is what he knew of it. He knew corn syrup. He didn't know it came out of trees or anything like that. And he learned this whole thing. And now he uses it to support ministries and churches. So his church's youth group is going to go to the National Youth Gathering, just like our youth are going as well. They do food sales for the 30,000 people that show up. He does all the work. They just sell the food. He said, last year, I cut them a check for $32,000 to cover costs for the transportation and their experience what's going on, too. So part of it is, it's hard to figure out maybe where to serve in your community, but you can take your profession and your calling and your gifts that you have and utilize it to help serve other people as well, too. So it's this transition to see maple syrup and all this, but also experience someone using this to benefit and serve their community in a more maybe familiar setting as well, too. So the sap was awesome. It was really good stuff, things like that. I got to go see my mom and dad. They put us up for the night. We got a chance to kind of be interrogated by some nice parents about what did you do, what did you see, all these kind of things. Why was my son in rehab? Tell me more about this. And they loved on them, and they got to have a chance to start processing what did they just experience over the last week, and share this in a unique kind of way like that, and see that space, and also kind of hear how my parents care and support different things like that, or how they're living their faith out as well too, which is really unique. And then we drove back, and we took in the great Wisconsin experience of the Mars Cheese Castle. I knew that was going to be there. I don't know. Jim Gaffigan talks about Mars Cheese Castle, so we had to stop there. So check it out. And then Grant, who also is not here right now for me to pick on him, he picks out cheese curds. But what flavor? Pickle and garlic. Do you know what flavor you don't want in a van for 8 hours? Pickle and garlic cheese curds. It's not a great one, just letting you know. It was our ARC experience right there. We had no air ventilation. We needed technology. So that was not good. So, but then we cruised back, and we got back home. We went through life of no snow, and then we got snow along the way. So that's our recap of a week in just more itinerary format versus like the impact of what everything had in those kinds of ways too. But I don't know, when you guys had the experience, was it changing?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I joked at the beginning, I said this will be an impactful trip. We're going to know each other more than we ever wanted to know each other. We're going to experience things you wanted to or not wanted to. We're going to deal with the tensions. I think a lot of these experiences are that opportunities to deal with tensions, seeing life, seeing someone else's normal compared to our normal, and going, it is good. It's different, but it's good. And one's not right, one's not wrong, one's not better, one's not worse. It's just different. And I think it's good for us to sit in that tension and in that gray rather than one's black and one's white, or one's, whatever that may look like. I think it's different. And that's the height of these experiences and the transitions of this coming and going trip. He left that first day, and I said, hopefully by the time you get to the bridge, I know where you're driving tonight. He literally went, and he didn't know where they were driving to. How many of you guys would sign up for a trip that I'm leading that's like that? It's uncomfortable. It's different, and it all worked out. They would know no difference of what that looks like. So yeah, Amy. Yeah. Yeah. So if you're looking for a place to go or connect, Campus Store in Detroit is fantastic in that, and you get to deal with people. And maybe that is, repainting a space, working this, or in communities, but you get to know people that live in a location, which is awesome and neat. Another cool thing about the ARC in that experience, I don't know, who has ever been to a museum before? Yeah. No? We're all Yoopers. No one's ever seen a museum before. Any museum. Any museum? There you go. All right, there you go. I asked bad questions. What's cool about the ARC was you're going in there you guys realize that all these people probably share a very similar faith to us. Like, we're all here because, we're kind of interested in this God who created and restored and saved and prospered again, kind of that way, too. And it holds thousands and thousands of people in that space, which is just wild. So it was a neat experience. So please ask us more questions. We're out of time. We got to reset for church. But it was awesome. So thank you for your support, your prayers. Thank you.